Boom. All right, brother.
All right, Trap.
Welcome, everybody, to the TeeRap show. Today, we're sitting down with Mr. Jordan Wilson himself, pro soccer player, actually kind of recently announced his retirement, which we're going to talk about. But Jordan, you played 5 years roughly in Denmark, then came back to Canada, became a superstar here playing for York United. Good buddy of mine, recent new father. Definitely been some life changes there, which we'll talk about. First of all, man, congrats on a very successful career. It's been awesome watching you be successful over the last few years. And yeah, man, kind of tell us, why don't we start with the decision, number one, to retire, because it was a little unexpected. I mean, you're still kind of in the midst of your career, very successful. And then it just came out that you were hanging up the cleats. So what kind of brought that around?
Yeah, first off, just want to thank you for having me on the show, Trap. Longtime friend, Trapper is. Me and him go way back. No, you've been class from the first day I met you. But retirement, I mean, there's many things, but a lot of people have said to me that have been dear to me. It's like it's better to leave too soon than to wait too long, type of thing. You know what I mean? It's better to go out on your own accord as that old guy that's still playing, and everyone's like, "Hey, when is this guy gonna give it a rest?" No, I think obviously I had a few years left in me for sure to continue to play and to be in this league, but then I just thought, like, at what cost? If there's something
Mm.
that I enjoy to do, there's something that allows me to be around my family a bit more, and a career that I could look down the pipe in 10, 20 years, and that's something I would really want to do. I had an opportunity, and I just said, you know what, football's always been good to me. It's always been a vehicle, and playing 2, 3 years more it almost became an ego thing. Like, yeah, I just want to show that I could still do it at 32, 33, 34, which I know I could. Anyone who knows me knows that I could continue to play. But I guess the question was, at what cost? Like, what am I really doing this for? If there's something I enjoy doing that's a bit more, I enjoy doing more than playing, and I get more time with my family. It seemed like a perfect marriage and a no-brainer. So retirement was just, it was an easier decision than I thought it would be.
Totally, man. And I like how you touched on, at what cost, because being a pro athlete costs. Like you have to sacrifice a certain amount, don't you?
100%, 100%. Like it's a grind that, like, prepared me for. But it's one of those things for me that I I needed. You're hustling and bustling all the time, and I think too, now that I'm taking that same dedication into a craft, it's nice. But yeah, you're away from home, trips into other provinces. Like, before preseason, you could say, "Hey, we're going to," when I was in Denmark, or you're going to Turkey for 2 weeks. I was excited. Or you're going, if we're playing in York or at York, you're going away for 2 weeks. You're excited. But going to Florida. But now it's like 2 weeks. My son could come back with like a chin strap and a deep voice. Like, you're gone for a long time, right? So it's just prioritizing. I feel. I think when I first held him, it just literally took my whole life and just spun it around for the better. But in terms of just looking down the next few years, it's like, how can I provide and how can I be around? And the beauty about all of this is, like, I'm still part of the game. So
Mm.
it's a win-win.
Yeah, you're around the game. So let's talk about like your new, so you moving into a broadcasting role. Is that right?
Yes. So yeah, I'm an analyst for a company called Media Pro, but the One Soccer is so basically the league, the broadcast company that was covering the league I was playing in. That's who I'll be working for, and it was just a seamless marriage. People that have been around a little bit the past year and a half. I've tried to hop on shows as much as I can and just learn a bit more about the business. And obviously, I like to talk, like to connect, to communicate. So yeah, it was a nice time all around. It was something that I've always wanted to do. I've always been interested in, but to make it happen now, it was God's timing. It was perfect.
Nice. And so kind of like what gets you fired up about the broadcasting? I mean, a lot of the athletes to make the transition easier will get into coaching, or they'll get into personal training, or something that kind of ties them still to sports, so they don't have to let go of that identity of being an athlete and being involved in sport. And it sometimes makes the life after sport transition easier. Getting into broadcasting, I love how you mentioned, you kind of look 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. I often tell guys, athletes that I mentor, if you're looking at a transition, interview your future self. So if you're looking at a role in broadcasting, or you're looking at a role in coaching, go find someone that's been doing it for 10 years and see, hey, is that where I want to be? Does he have the lifestyle, the family, the balance, everything that you want? And if it is, then that's definitely the career for you. So talk about broadcasting, man. What gets you fired up about that?
I said in my retirement letter, like, I love the pace of it, like how spontaneous it can be. Obviously, you have your notes and you're researching teams and topics and whatnot, but different moments by what people say, like, you have to react, and you don't really have that much time to formulate what you're gonna say. Like, you have to feel it. So communicating and connecting is just something I've really always enjoyed doing. To put it as a profession, it's just a blessing. Because for me, I was like, my parents said, hey, you got to go to school. I know you want to play soccer, but you got to go to school and get a degree. And I was like, okay, well, I'll be a teacher. I love kids. I love learning. I love connecting. I love being around people. I'm a clown. I like that. I feel like being in the media broadcast industry as well, you still get that like teamwork environment. You still get that time to like connect, to learn, to communicate, to have disagreements, to come to a common understanding. It's all of that. It's a nice little mashup. So specifically, I feel blessed because I'm covering Canadian soccer, which is something I'm very passionate about, on the women's side, on the men's side, but then also this new growing league in the CPL, the Canadian Premier League. It's like, this is a league that I played in for 2 years, but I've dreamt about since I was like in grade 1, like grade 6, like playing at home in a Canadian professional league. So now just being a part of it and being able to cover it is a dream come true.
Oh, that's cool, man. Well, you have personality. From the first time I met you, you got personality, and I love it, man. And that's why I was excited about this episode and this podcast was, we both have a little bit of personality. And I think to make it on, whether you're a YouTuber or broadcaster or, any type of TV, you got to have personality. You got to have something that kind of stands out, and you definitely have that. So I'm excited to watch your career progress in broadcasting. So let's jump back a little bit, man. You talked about a dream come true from when you were a little kid. So grew up in Ontario, Mississauga?
Yes, Mississauga boy, born and raised.
And so why soccer? What made you end up in soccer? And I say soccer, maybe it's the Canadian in me. I don't know, but
no, soccer.
You guys all say
football.
Fine.
We say football, footy. But yeah, soccer's fine. It's all the same. I'm not gonna put your head on a stake for calling it soccer trap.
I might if I was over in Europe, right? They get pretty passionate.
Europe, as soon as you cross the Atlantic, you gotta call it football. But over here, you can get away with soccer.
Get away with it, yeah.
I think it would be my dad. I think all praise goes to him. I think it was one of those sports that I know he grew up playing in England, like rugby and soccer, but soccer was like his primary love. And then at like 3-4 years old, earlier than that, he was putting the ball at my feet. And I think it's one of those things that as soon as I played it, I just knew I was hooked. Like I loved it. Like nothing, still, maybe now, obviously, with my son and my fiance, like there are other things that bring me peace, but like throughout the majority of my life, it was just football. It was just soccer. It was having the ball at my feet. Like in high school, I had a ball in my locker. Like I would juggle like after school. Like I would just if whatever type of day it was a good day, it was a long day, it was a sad day, like the ball ended up at my feet. That was just something that was constant. It was a lease. But I think my dad, I also have an older brother who's 5 years older. He played. So obviously just being a younger brother, like you want to chase your older brother and do what he does. But yeah, there's just something about like the grass, dribbling, shooting, scoring, missing, all of it, all of the game and all of its idiosyncrasies are just something that like I enjoy. I really relish. And like even now as a 31-year-old man, like if I'm having a day, it's a run or a ball at my feet or something to do with footy. So yeah, it's
That's
definitely a
cool.
savior
So
in many respects.
at what stage, like every young boy dreams of being an athlete, you know, we, whatever sport it is, we grow up and love what we do. And it's like, I'd love, you know, we look up to role models. At what stage in your career were you like, shit, I can do this for a living? Like, I know I can make it as a pro soccer player.
I think around like when I was like grade 7, like 12,
Early on.
I was like, and I wasn't the best. I was just like, I was the most dedicated. Like I loved it the most. Like I was
Mm,
always a good player. I was like middle of the pack, showed some signs of like, hey, this guy could go far with it. But I was never like, hey, look at Jordan. Oh my goodness. Definitely not. I was just a kid that like loved it the most. And yeah, I had it as a dream, like, hey, I want to play in Europe because I feel like at that time too, there wasn't even a team in Toronto yet. Like Toronto FC wasn't even born. So
right.
everything you're looking at was like MLS or you're looking Europe. And for me, I was like, MLS is like a small window to try to get into. But there's so many European countries and so many people that love football. Like there has to be one that would take me. So I'm thinking I got to go over there. And then also too, it helped that like my dad was British or is British, and he had a passport. So like my brother and my sister and I also did. So it's like we can go over and just like see what happens. It's like we had a visa to expire or whatever that might be. But yeah, I think around grade 7 I started taking it seriously or more seriously and thought like this is a dream. But again, my parents were like, this is your dream, no problem, but like what's your plan B? And I'm also grateful for that because that allowed me to like grow up and have a fallback, but also be like, this is still the thing I want to do. I could have a nice, cushy life, maybe following that teacher route, but like I really want it. So it kind of just put things into perspective. It's not the only thing that I can do, but this is something that I really want to do. And that made me like the player that I was. I was just always so dedicated because of, I guess, the grassroots, because of me loving it so much.
That's cool. Yeah, it's funny how parents from like our parents that era were always about, okay, I get it, you have dreams, but you know, just in case, right? My parents were the same. It was okay, yeah, just in case golf doesn't work out, you know, get a degree, go to school. And for me, like my boys want to do something, I'm just like, go all in, like give it everything you got. You fail, you fall on your face, you either try again or you move on. But like, you know, you're gonna figure it out. And it's you know,
Yeah.
maybe that's the athlete and entrepreneur in me. But
Yeah.
I'm always just like, you know, go give it everything you got. And if you fail, then figure something else out and
But
move
I also
on.
think I also think Trap that's a different time. I think you playing pro and going through all that you've went through and then coming out and having a different career. I think like your outlook on life is just a bit different. I think our parents, specifically mine, I don't know yours, so I won't speak about them, but I just think that generation was more like, I don't want to say rigid, but they were like prepared for a rainy day. Like, hey,
Totally.
like you going to a professional route or whatever, or if you're an artist or a musician, like there are so many of them. And then what happens if that doesn't work out? Like they want a safety net. And then you can see now there's so many people that make an income or a living doing something that parents or our parents would feel like that's like a 2% chance of making it. Like whether it be a YouTuber or a musician or artist, like they pay bills and this is like their job that they do for life. And our parents would be like, yeah, well, there's no chance. That seems like a hobby. That seems like something that you like to do.
Mm.
So I think it's also that's a blend with it as well. I think it's just a different era. I think,
Yeah, totally. I agree. And there's more challenges now with everything, like, you know, I think of my boys coming up and everything they have to deal with that we didn't, you know, 20 years ago. So it's definitely a different era. I think there's way more opportunity to do what you want to, because we have a bigger networks. Essentially your net worth is your network. But also like sport progresses. being an entrepreneur like everything is so progressive that I think in order to be a pro athlete now, a high level, high caliber athlete, in order to be a multimillionaire, like you can't have a backup plan. You got to burn the boat. You got to be all in. This is what you're doing and 100% commit to that in order to elevate yourself to that 1%.
Agreed.
Where I think, back in their generation again, you could have a backup plan. You could drink beers on the weekend. You could kind of there was more balance in being a pro athlete and being, 100% entrepreneur, where now it's become so competitive that, I mean, there's kids starting at 3 years old to become, and they're groomed for 20 years. They've been playing for 20 years before they're even in their mid 20s, which is crazy. Right?
Yeah.
So let's give our viewers some tangibles, man. So you're a young kid, Ontario, growing up. How do you become a professional soccer player? Like what would you recommend? What would your path be that you would, if your son comes to you and he's like, Dad, I want to play pro soccer, how are you going to get him there?
I think for me, it's a healthy balance of like motivating him, but also just letting him fall in love with the game. What I've found is that the reason why I've played, I guess, so long, I guess I'm the older batch, right, of the guys in the league. But yeah, I don't even look at so long. Like you see Messi in the World Cup, like 35, like that's longer. That's like a longer career, 35, 36, 37. Like you've been around. 31, I'm a vet here, but I don't think I'm a vet in the grand scheme of football.
Yeah.
I would say it's about your reps and your repetitions. Like, don't be militant about training and what you eat and your body fat and stuff like that as a 12-year-old. I would just say fall in love with the game. Like, you always know with certain kids, like how serious they take it and how much they want it because they're watching games, but then they're also playing. This is not like, hey, I'm going to play FIFA on my Xbox or PS5. Like, that's not getting you close to your goal. It's just like, you cannot stop having the ball at your feet. Like I used to train with my team. And then my brother's 5 years older. I was a 12-year-old playing with like 17, 18-year-olds. And he would bring me to their training and I wasn't really scared. I was like, let me just go because I get to play with like the big kids. I get to play with like men. I was like, let's do it. Like, it was just like, it was almost like a drug, like something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to immerse myself in it. So I would say to my son or any kid that wants to play is play as much as you can, get better, work on your weaknesses, enjoy the game, because that love for the game is what takes you as far as you want to go. It's not really your skill. I've played with skillful players. I played with guys growing up that were phenomenal. 13, 14, 16, 17, everyone was talking about them. But if they didn't have that love and if they weren't deeply rooted in the game, they fell off eventually. It was just like they couldn't handle it or they didn't want to do it. It's that love for the game that really takes you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've always said, like, I've kind of drawn the line in the sand with my boys. I said, if you want to go like play elite, they play hockey and they play baseball. They're pretty good baseball players. If you want to take this thing, and have a shot at being professional, I'm 100% on board. Like, I will back you. But it's a different commitment from me as a parent. And it's a different commitment from you as a kid. But if you want to just have fun, then I'm 100%, I support that as well. And again, it's a different commitment from me. And I don't, I expect that same commitment from you as a kid. And both my boys are like, they play hockey for fun. They play baseball and they love it. And that's, they just want to have fun playing. And, my wife and I are at every game, but I think I like how you said the love of the game. I think it has to come from the kid first. They have to show that passion that too often, you've been around the game a long time. You see parents that force them into that
want
career
it more
path,
than the kid does.
Yeah, even worse, right? Yeah. So here's a question, Jordan. What you talked about Messi, like what allows an athlete to play a longer or have a longer career than others? what is it in them, or what is it that they've done that allows them to play for such a long time?
I think in a general sense, it's taking care of the details. Like I think at a certain point, I'll speak about soccer, football. Um, Everyone can run, everyone can kick the ball hard, fast, high. Everyone can jump to a certain degree, and everyone, if you give them like a big chance 12 yards out, could probably put the ball in the back of the net. I think what separates a player playing 2 years, 3 years, or 13 years is about taking care of the little details. So
Mhm.
obviously you need a little bit of luck. Some people might, it could be on their body that it's not there. Maybe
Right.
they're always injured or whatever it might be. But for me early on, I had certain physios and whatever. They're just like, yeah, you're strong, but like you need to work on your flexibility. I said, done. I didn't go and say, oh, whatever, I'll take care of it when I'm 25.
Right.
They're like, yeah,
Right.
you're 20. Like you should probably like you're okay with your flexibility, but I'm telling you, it's about how much you could do with your muscles as opposed to how strong they are, how big they are. It's like how much they could take. So done. Like I was a 20-year-old doing yoga, and like people are like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Well, this is what I need to do to like
Mm,
make sure that my tissues
that's
and my
good.
muscles are ready." So
Yeah.
it's just taking care of the details. Like even this past season, it's like the young guys could tease and say, "Man, you have a whole like routine. Like it's like a dance routine, rolling the feet, rolling the muscles, stretching, whatever it is." But I was always the one that was ready to train every day and play in every game. I missed 2 games because I'm a little of a bandit, and I got a yellow card and a red card. But outside of like that, being fit,
Personality came
I,
out.
yeah, first a little bit. I mean, a red card that wasn't deserved, but whatever. It happens when you play the way that I play. But long story short is that I was ready to play because I took the time out at home, what I eat, how much I sleep,
Mm,
foam rolling, all these little percentages that if you talk to someone that maybe is new in the game or a younger player, they'll be like, oh, well, I have my whole career to worry about that. But they don't know that day by day, you're taking off minutes, you're taking off years of your game. And then it's about getting into that routine. And once you have that, then you almost can't function without it. There were some times I trained and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do my routine today.
mm,
And immediately anything that would go wrong in the training session, you resort back to how you weren't prepared.
right.
So like I've played nearly 200 professional games. I don't think there's even a one single game that I wasn't prepared. I could have played bad like 20 of them, but like I could never go back and say it wasn't because I was prepared. It was maybe other factors that didn't attribute to it. So it just gets you ready. And I think then you just multiply those 200 by another 200, and you end up having such a long career because you're just taking care of the details.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's powerful, because that's what I teach as well on the finance side. Like you don't wait until you're 28 to start getting your body in shape, doing physio, doing yoga, like you said. That stuff starts when you're 17, 18. Young like that. That's how you have a longer career. Man, that's such a good input, because it's the same with our finances. You don't start trying to figure out your finances when you're 29 and 30. Like you got to start when you're 20. And something I teach all my young athletes, like start putting whatever it is, start putting something away when you sign that first pro contract, because trying to play catch up is how we have a shorter career, like you just said, with our body and
Absolutely.
our finances. So I always say, Jordan, once an athlete, always an athlete. How is your morning? You talked about like that morning prep, getting in the right zone. How has that changed now moving into retirement? Do we have a few more sleep in mornings now, or the little guy wake you up pretty early still?
You know what? I have a gem of a partner, a fiance, and she does a lot of the majority of the heavy lifting in the night. So I sleep like a baby, truthfully. Around now we're getting into a routine where because we're getting ready for our wedding, she's getting up at like 6 o'clock to go and work out. And then would come back, and by that time she comes back. Maybe our son's getting up, maybe he's still sleeping a bit. So I'll be on watch for a little bit. But honestly, he's also a gem of a kid. Like he'll be up sometimes in the night, but like he's never really a huge fuss. Or maybe I'm just enamored and I'm in love with him. But I do have those times where I'm just like waking up 9 o'clock, 9:30, and then deciding, hey, am I going to the gym today or am I not? And to be honest with you, Trap, it's been the latter most of the time. I'm just like, I don't really need to go right now. My knees have never felt as good as they do right now when I'm dancing in the kitchen with the wife or with my son. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I could get down low. I'm like, I'm not tired, I'm not sore, but I know at a point that I'm vain. I definitely got to work out and get myself ready. But I've never had this much time, and I think it's coming out a beautiful time because I get time with my 6-month-old and my
Yeah.
fiance.
Yeah. It's a different balance. I remember, the end of my career was a little different than yours. I didn't get to choose to walk away, but it was still like, when it was done, like I didn't touch my golf clubs for probably like 6 or 8 months after. Like it's almost like a break. Like you're like, holy cow,
Yeah,
you get to see the other side of life
for sure.
after sport, and you kind of, I feel like you go the stage you're in, like you go through that transition. You're like, this is great. Like I don't have to wait. But
I
then
miss it though. I'm not gonna lie.
you get hungry after a while, right? Where you get hungry again,
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, I'm ready to be competitive again. I got to find something. I got to find a goal to knock off, and it starts to creep back. And
for sure.
so George, what's the next goal, man? Like, it's not in sport now. So I know you're ambitious and you got some big goals. What's the next big domino for you?
I think the next big domino is like what intrigued me about this career, being an analyst in the broadcast media world, is that as much as a lot of it comes to me naturally, and as much as I've researched and done work to put myself in this position, I'm still a novice. I wasn't a kid that studied journalism. Like I have an English degree, but in terms of journalism and like get in front of the camera and all the works and all the things that go on to produce something, that's new to me. So I think my next goal is to get acclimated and to get settled and to be curious, continue to learn all that I can, and then go as far as I can in this industry. I'm not going to say titles or companies. I won't do that to myself, but I will say that moving forward with the game, and that could be other games as well, but just in terms of using the skill of connecting and the gift of the gab, and just like making sure that I put myself in a position where I could look after my family. Because one thing I'll say that I enjoy about this life as opposed to playing is just like the time with the family. Like here, I'm here with you today and we're talking, and I could have a show later, but in between these times, it's like preparation, but I'm also with my family. I'm not training for 5 hours, and that, as a player, that's something that you need to do. So I think my goals right now are just to really dive into this career and see where it could take me.
Nice. Wicked, man. I'm excited for you and the next steps in your career, and to be part of that journey and follow you along. And awesome, man. Like I just want to thank you for your time jumping on this call. Like I said, brother, I'm a big fan. And love that you're making the transition into broadcasting. We're going to get to see more of you and hear more of you, and you're still around the game. I think you're a great ambassador for soccer and Canadian up and coming Canadians as well. So just want to congratulate you and thank you for your time, man. It's been a swell catching up, and excited for this next chapter for you.
Thank you, Trap. Appreciate you. And also thank you for, people don't know this, but thank you for opening my mind to the financial world and the importance of it. And I've already made little big strides for myself, for my family, and for our son. So I appreciate you for all that you do. Thanks for having me on. And anyone listening and they want to get their life in check and their finances in check, Trapper Goldsmith is the guy. Let him know. And also my boy Murphy, of course. So
absolutely. And man, Murph Rideau, we'll have him on the podcast as well. Another great Canadian soccer player. Okay, buddy, you have a great day, man. Appreciate your time.
You too,
and just as a kind of fun, if viewers want to follow you, I know you're on Instagram as well. Any other social platforms, or how can they follow
Twitter.
broadcasting?
Twitter is I'm trying to grow the Twitter.
All right.
I've been against that my whole life. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have a Twitter account. And a couple of months ago, I bit the bullet. So yeah, it's the same name, J Wilson XVIII, and you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever platform you like better.
All right, love it, man. Okay, we'll Twitter you for sure.
Love it. Twitter tweet, love it.
Okay, brother.
All right, Trap.
Talk to you soon.
Appreciate you.
You bet, man.
Take care.